Happy Monday. I can hear you out there. I know you're happy. You should be happy because it's warm and sun shining, right? What's the temperature? I don't really do weather forecast. Should I do weather forecast? Today, that's radio, right? It's 24 degrees right now as I begin this live broadcast with you on another happy Monday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. And as always, I'm your host, David Burrows. Happy to have you here joining me. And how was your weekend? I always ask that question, how was your weekend? Because it's usually when most of us find something extra fun to do. But that looks a little different right now, doesn't it? What have you been doing to keep yourself amused and happy? A lot of online stuff. Netflix is doing pretty good, I'm thinking. The Disney Channel. And hopefully the show with David Burrows every week that you're stopping by as well. Or maybe you're catching the replay. The replays are available here and on my YouTube channel as well. So thanks for being here, everybody. Well, some interesting update. We'll talk a little bit of news. You know, I don't do a lot of news, but I do share news stuff over on my website, which you can find updates, what's happening locally and provincially at the show live.live. Yes, .live is an actual extension. And remind you to get all your information. I say it every week because it's important. Get it right from the horse's mouth. You can find out lambtonpublichealth.ca, Blue Water Health, also on their website. And if you want to find out some things happening locally or that affect city stuff, parks, etc., go to sarnia.ca to get that information as well. Get the accurate information. It might not be the information you like, but it's where it's coming from, and there you go. I'd like to go to the comments first. Hello, Jesse. Hello, Jesse. How are you doing today? Nice to sort of see you. I'll have to stop. Jesse is a hard-working man down at the Petro-Canada here in Sarnia at London and Finch there. I should stop in for a chocolate bar. Chocolate bar. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yeah, where are we? Michael Ferroni. Hey, Dave. Keeping well, I see. Everything good over here? Yeah, I'm keeping well. Glad to hear you're keeping well as well, Mr. Ferroni. Are you working hard still? Right? Lots of places. I know my son got called back to work. And his job looks a little bit different, but he's back to work. Lots of people back to work. And then, of course, if you were watching earlier, very privileged to be one of the broadcasters for our Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. And we simulcast their broadcast here on the show with David Burrows page, the Video Show Network, and now we're broadcasting it on the City of Sarnia Facebook page. So you should be able to find it somewhere, just saying. Reopening. Stage number 2 was announced earlier today by Premier Doug Ford, and most people happy, I would think. But certainly people in Lambton County and Windsor, Essex, not going to be happy as Lambton County will not be a part of the Stage 2 reopening at this time. Now, they didn't go into detail as to saying why, although Christine Elliott, our Minister of Health, talked a little bit about it. But obviously the Stage 2 reopening is going to come for us at some point. It's for health reasons. That's all I know. I'm not the expert. We'll get there. And when we do... Are you going to have big celebrations? Are you planning anything for like when everything's reopened 100% again? And how's that going to affect? How it has affected jobs and businesses is pretty obvious, I think. One of my guests coming up later on, Josh Dowse, who's a tattoo owner, tattoo parlor owner out in Petrolia, is going to be talking to me about the effects it's had on his business. And he's got some thoughts on how he thought or thinks things should be going as well. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later. Jeff Black is going to be joining me shortly and talking about something special there as well. I should check in with him. I want to make sure he's okay. Make sure he's ready. This live thing, right, is new still to a lot of people. So people are adapting, though, pretty well, I think. And I'm trying to, do this multitasking anytime. Multitasking. I can't even talk and type at the same time, right? It's a skill. Lambton County not going to be part of reopening just yet. Windsor, Essex will not be a part of reopening just yet as well. So, how do you feel about that? Let's go over to the comments and just see if anybody's got any thoughts on that. Mike Ferroni says, Twisted Arm, still making and delivering the food Wednesday to Saturday, 48. We need the numbers to drop first. Yeah, the numbers. Well, we've had some outbreaks here, etc., right? And I guess that's the end of the day. That's what needs to happen is the numbers have to drop, flatten the curve, I guess. I don't think anybody's, I saw some comments earlier when I was broadcasting the Premier's broadcast, and, obviously people are sad or angry. Obviously, they're not letting this area open to stage 2 for a reason. I don't think anybody woke up and said, well, we're going to let everybody, but those people over in Lambton County, they don't get to open, right? So I'm sure there's reasons. If you want to find out more, you can go to the show live.live to get more of the information. I have posted an article that came straight from the government of Ontario on who's allowed to open, what is allowed to open, I guess, and tattoo parlors, hair salons, restaurants and bars on their patios are all a part of that. And when I was first watching it, I was like, oh, this is great. And then, oh, everybody except. So talk about feeling left out, right? Jesse says, I'll keep working and take it one day at a time. Well, that's really all we can do right now. I mean, I still think we're in a position where we need to plan ahead. I've seen some businesses that in the beginning of all of this were just like, well, I'm just going to sit back and wait and see how this goes. Yeah. I hope they change their mind quick about that. I think that would be a mistake. Even though I'm in the live streaming business, if you will, aside from the talk show world, right? I had to adapt my business as well. It had to look a little bit different on how I live stream things, how I set up things. I was considered an essential service, I think. According to the website, it seemed like it. Anyway, I already had that conversation a couple weeks ago. But so we're getting there. I mean, we've got to be feeling a little bit better about at least, they announced stage 2 for most people. Stage 2 will come for Lambton County, Windsor, Essex as well. So we're heading in a positive direction, I would say. Now, I don't know if you're one of the folks that wears a mask when you go out. I've been into a couple stores and didn't wear a mask, but I social distanced myself. One of the things I learned, and again, not being the medical expert, taking it from those who are, is that when you wear a mask, you're not actually protecting yourself from getting COVID-19. The mask won't protect you from getting it. It's preventing you from spreading it if you have it, or if you sneeze on somebody, etc. Right? So I'm a little confused about the whole mask thing. I did hug my children first time the other day in a long time because, I was on a media call with Dr. Sidit Ranade, and I asked the question. I said, as not just myself but many, were not hugging their kids or having them over because of separate homes, divorced, separated homes. And he said, we've never said not to hug your kids and to treat those two separate homes like one unit. So, oh, okay. So it was nice to be able to hug my son and my daughter finally after 2 months. That was probably the toughest thing for me anyway. It was wow. And even introverted people. I'm obviously not a very introverted person, but there are those who are, and even introverted people need social engagement. So the internet's a busy place, that's for sure. And I hope you've been able to hang on through all of this. And again, there's a website for Lambton Public Health for you to get information. Also, the City of Sarnia's got great information on what's happening locally. This is the other thing to keep in mind as well. I know some people had some frustrations towards the city as to what they were opening and closing, etc., what they were allowing, what they weren't allowing. Keep in mind, the City of Sarnia, municipalities, get their information from the federal and the provincial government. You know that old saying, how the ball rolls downhill? I'm being polite. They get that information at the municipal level, and then they have to decipher what it means. And then they're told, thou must close beaches, must close. But when they do all of that stuff, it's all coming from the top down. So they have to implement the guidelines, right? So, and of course, our officers of the law, out of all the complaints that they've received through the hotline that the city's provided, etc., they've only laid, to my knowledge, I think 5 charges out of all of that. So, and how did those people react? Well, anyway. So I think we're doing okay. Let's go back to the comments before we move on here. Michael Ferroni says, my wife runs our shop, the hair boutique, so this hurts. But we want the best for everyone. So if waiting a little longer gives us a better future, then let it be. Yeah. Great, positive, good attitude, Michael. Nice to hear that out there. And I get everybody's suffering a little bit, right? So we'll get there. We'll get there. Now, that being said, there are lots of people who are adapting. Oh yes, and of course, even though we're not moving into stage 2 in Lambton County, we're still allowed to have gathering of 10 people now. Okay, defined gathering, and of course, through all of this, social distancing is still a must. Okay, so be distancing, follow the guidelines. That will help us get through it all quicker. There's also phone numbers available as well on the local level if you want to find out. And there's the Ontario website to find out more as well. All right, well, this is really interesting. The Sarnia Sting and our friend Laura Domingos from Lambton Elderly Outreach have collaborated and become partners, if you will. I had Laura on here last week along with Jake Borey from the Sarnia Sting, and they've come up with Puck COVID t-shirts. You can see the Sarnia Sting emblem in the middle there. I'll give you a close-up shot of this. And these t-shirts are $25 with all proceeds going to Lambton Elderly Outreach. Now, let me tell you how this kind of came about. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So Laura at Lambton Elderly Outreach, along with JD Power from Ron Clark Motor and a whole bunch of others got together. And we do a bingo every Wednesday night. I'm the producer for the bingo. Free virtual cards are sent to you. And if you want information, just I'll post all this information after the show. Bingo at lambtonelderlyoutreach.org. They send you a free bingo card, and they've got tons of prizes that have been donated. And they're selling truck tickets to support this really awesome 4x4 truck coming out of Ron Clark Ford in Wyoming to support Lambton Elderly Outreach. And Laura is, and I'm surprised I didn't even know about her before, the biggest, Jay Peckham's not going to like this, the biggest Sarnia Sting fan. They have a room at home plastered with yellow and black and all kinds of Sarnia Sting stuff. And they started making a paraphernalia for this bingo night that we have, and one of them was t-shirts. I have a hoodie with my show emblem. Anyway, so Puck COVID with the Sting emblem, $25, and all proceeds from the t-shirts going to support Lambton Elderly Outreach. So what a great partnership there with the Sarnia Sting and Lambton Elderly Outreach. Fact that community coming together again. Oh, and speaking of the devil, look at this. Laura is sending me stuff right now. Okay, that's for bingo later. But that's coming up on Wednesday. Anyway, so go to sarniasting.com and you'll see a link there where you can purchase these tickets online, and you'll be supporting Lambton Elderly Outreach, who's doing great things in our community as well. And congratulations to Laura and the Sarnia Sting for pulling that together and making it happen. Nice to see out there. Cool t-shirts as well. I've got to order mine, so I'm getting ready for that. Also, adapting out there as well, we had the Big Brothers Big Sisters fashion show happen this past Friday night. That's why we didn't have the Friday Night Music Fever, which I will be starting up again. We'll talk about that later at the end of the show. And here is how live streaming and adapting and being creative can go so well. Down at One Tooth, a fashion show that I live streamed for Big Brothers Big Sisters. In 1 hour, raised $7,156 to support Big Brothers Big Sisters, and donations, as you can see on the screen there, still being accepted up till June the 12th. They'll take them beyond, but they're for this campaign. They're trying to get some match dollars out there from other groups as well, so you can donate by visiting them online. Just over 7,000 right now. Currently, just over $8,000. Their goal is $10,000. So you can help with making your donations, and it was a great success. And happy to be a part of that. Sarah Woodley was there as the host, along with Patty Jo Pumple, who was one of the co-owners of One Tooth, and Heather Park was there as well. And it was a fabulous night. It really was. So it's great. Another proof that Sarnia Lambton is a great community for coming together. All right, we'll check our comments one more time before I go to my first guess. Where are we here? Okay, Claudette. Prayers to the family who lost my sister Thursday to cancer. Sorry to hear that. You do have my prayers there, Claudette. And Chris is saying, hey, you're in Newfoundland now. Nice. Jay Peckham. Oh, he did show up, and he heard that about the biggest fan. I'm sorry, Jay, but... like, do you have a whole entire room in your home dedicated to nothing but the Sarnia Sting? I'd like to see pictures of that. Maybe we could have Jay on here and Laura on here at the same time and see who is the better Sting fan. All right, a little friendly camaraderie going on there. All right, well, speaking of community coming together, my first guest coming from the music community decided to put something together to support a friend of his, a friend who is a friend to many of us, and we're going to bring him on right now. Jeff Black, thanks for joining me, buddy.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
I'm doing really well. How's things with you?
Good on this end. Just got a brand new fridge. As you can see behind us, our fridge gave up the ghost.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, fridges is kind of important, especially right now.
Yeah. Anyway, here's what we are talking about right here. Glare out of it.
Okay, the Concrete Soul Foundation.
Yep. That is a band that Jason Dalkey and I had back in 2006, 2007. And just before the band finally split up completely, we recorded an album. And it never got finished mixing because it didn't seem to be a point with the band broken up. So I decided after Jason had his fourth stroke late last year and was really in a bad way after it, I decided to it'd be a good thing to finish it and get it duplicated and sell it, to raise money for him. So.
Yeah, well, what a neat idea, and of course I've known Jay a long time, as you have, and let's kind of go back a few years. I think I've even got another picture here of Jay. This was quite a few years ago down at Cheeky Monkey. He was up, singing.
Yeah, with Executive Monkey.
Yeah, right. That's
Yep.
I can't name them all. Dwayne Close there, and I can't quite make out the others.
Steph
there.
Hyde, and my phone's too small for me to make out the other ones.
Yeah. But Jay's always been a big part of the music world, and I remember going back, 20 years, and I think the first song I ever heard him sing was a Bon Jovi song, right? And I mean, he just nailed it. He did it better than Bon Jovi, quite honestly.
He actually won a Bon Jovi karaoke contest one time where that was what you had to sing with Bon Jovi.
Is that right? Yeah.
Actually, there was a thing yes.
Yeah. Well, I remember doing it. I remember doing a karaoke for I think it was the casino, because he worked at the casino way back, right?
Yep.
And they had a something like that and a contest, and he sang Bon Jovi, and I think he won it. Yeah. Maybe that's the same one. I don't know.
Could have been.
Yeah. So
it was when he was working at the casino. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. So how long how many years ago was this, hold that up just for us again for everybody to see, but how long ago was this originally, this band was put together?
The band, I believe, was 2006 when we started. And the album, this was recorded in 2007. And like I said, then the band split shortly thereafter. You went through, of course, a few iterations where, but Jay and I were the only consistent members.
Right. And what kind of we're going to play? We've got a couple of tunes. We obviously can't play the whole pieces of it, but what kind of style was the band?
It was Christian rock, ranging from sort of a light, funky to a harder rock bordering on heavy metal. Yeah. Mostly middle of the road, though. Mostly just, I would classify it just as rock, most of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know Jay has a strong belief. I think he even I don't know if he still does volunteer.
Oh,
is he still making it down there
to
River City?
Oh no, Jay is until a few days ago. Jay has been pretty much housebound. Yeah. Since taking like a bad turn after his last stroke, he hardly ever left the house, and then now he's just been brought out with a couple of friends of his in Forest that are gonna take care of him out there, so he doesn't have to be alone.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing because we saw him at karaoke every Sunday at Rock and Roll. He would, because I think he just lived down the street, right? And he'd be in there strongly, coming in and doing what he could to sing. And then I remember he started to fail a little bit more with it and just really wasn't able to make it out anymore. And then all of this happened with COVID-19, of course.
This hit at the worst time for him too, because he had specialist appointments coming up that ended up getting postponed indefinitely. And... Yeah.
Well, I don't think it could have been good timing for anybody, right? But we're all certainly affected differently. How long have you known Jay?
I've known Jay since 1991.
Yeah.
I was playing with Bill Rankin and Tim Tanner in a group in Sarnia, and we were searching for a vocalist and possibly another guitar player. I was on guitar, Bill was on bass, and Tim, of course, on drums. And I wasn't a great singer back then. I could sing harmony, and as long as I was blending with somebody else, but to sing lead, it just wasn't there. So we had met met Jason in at I believe it was a festival that we played at or we at least attended in Hamilton, I think it was. Okay. And Bill had been talking to him about coming down, and coincidentally too, Jason had been talking with a guy from Welland, Ontario, a guitar player, about putting something together. He says, well, you're looking for a singer and a guitar player. Well, we have both. And the other one turned out to be Matt Gauthier.
Oh, okay.
So originally the five of us had a band together in late 1991.
Nice. I remember Matt years ago too, and I think I kind of remember that now. Boy, you're making me think way back there, Jeff.
I know, right?
Well, let's play some of what we can here to show off Jay Dalkey when he really had an amazing voice. This one that I've got queued up here, it's called Thank You, Your Truth Sets Me Free. Do you want to kind of set this up and how this song became about before we play some of it?
Sure. With this band, Jason wrote pretty much all of the skeletons of the songs on acoustic guitar, and then I would take it from there and put the pretty chords in and arrange things. And this one originally was a tone higher, but when we recorded our first demo of it, Jason realized, this is getting a little high, even though he wrote it in that key. So we dropped it a little bit. So this is what it ended up as.
All right. Well, let's take a listen here. This is Jay Dalkey singing Thank You, Your Truth Sets Me Free.
Looking back on my life, you were always there for me. You were always there for me. everywhere that I have been, you were standing next to me. You were always there for me. And I wanna thank you, 'cause you gave your all for me. Yeah. And I wanna thank you for your truth that set me free, set me free. Your truth sets me free. Your
Well, it just sounds so natural for Jay to hit those notes, right?
I had one person I played a song for years ago call it Fearless Falsetto.
Fearless falsetto. Yeah.
He had Fearless Falsetto.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I remember that one. This next one here we're going to play a little bit of is called All the Time. I haven't had a chance to listen to this one yet. Can you tell us about this?
This is this is one actually that when Jay wrote the initial part and we were starting to put it together, he didn't have a lot of confidence that it would turn out to be a great song because the chord changes are kind of odd in spots. And the chorus, instead of like a standard chorus comes up, the chorus comes down in this one. The verse is the more rockier part and the chorus is gentle. And but I had this in my head how it would sound right when it was finished. And I said, don't worry. I said, let's just record it and we'll see. And once it was done, he loved it. So
Right on. Okay, well, let's take a listen to that. Here's All the Time. Again, Jay Dalkey.
every morning I can feel you next to me. You know I'm happy that I'm your child and you set me free. And I'm so thankful that you don't give up on me. And every evening when the day is done, I know that you're my master, maker of everything I know. I know. And I'm so thankful that your spirit lives in me. In me. Lord, I'm ready to give my all to you. I wanna walk with you.
Yeah, wow, what another great example of some amazing vocals from our friend Jay Dalkey there. How long did it take to put this album all together back then?
Really not that long, and it was recorded very low budget. We the drums and his vocals were done at my buddy's living room basically, and my guitars and bass and vocals were done in my spare room at home. So I think overall recording time maybe around a week.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it came together very well, and it's just got some. It's really uplifting, but it's rock, and it's like I say, kind of borderline metal, and it's a pretty eclectic sound actually. When's the last time? Does Jay know you're doing this for him?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've already paid for the cost of all of it, and I've already given him a bunch of money from it. So
Right. That's awesome. So we're still looking for more. Well, I need a copy. I'll send you Well, I love Jay, right? You know, I've known him a long time, and he was always loyal to come out to all the karaoke's, and he always just had really kind words. He always had a kind presence, you know, and so he's just one of those people you just want to continue to help. So
Yes.
happy to do that. I probably need a couple of CDs there. So
I got
and
lots.
anybody else there? Yeah, how many do you have?
I probably have. Well, I had 1,000 made, and
Okay.
it basically came in 4 boxes with 4 smaller boxes in each, and I've gone through
Right.
almost 2 boxes, so I have 14 boxes left.
Okay, well, let's get rid of those 14 boxes.
Whatever that entails.
The CD music compilation that can be purchased. It's $20. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And there's your email on the screen if anybody wants to e-transfer to Jeff. And then so they e-transfer you the money, and then how do they pick up their CD?
Well, if they're Sarnia area, I usually drop them off by hand when I'm up there.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned
Personal.
Cheeky Monkey as well, though. Is that a possibility?
I'm gonna go see Roland and Marianne at the Cheeky Monkey. I've actually known them. I'm sure you know them. They're great
Fantastic
couple.
people.
And I've known them since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. Because they're
So
from
just a couple
Wallsburg.
years.
Yeah. Yeah, just a touch, right? They're from Wallsburg here, and they originally started a video rental where you could rent video games and VHS when VHS barely came out, and they progressed on to bigger locations, and finally, once the rental, they could see the writing on the wall. I guess that the rental thing was really going to take a fall. That's when they moved up to Sarnia and opened up Cheeky Monkey.
Yeah, and they've done really well, and glad to still have them around.
Supportive of local artists too.
Oh, absolutely, they are absolutely. All right, well, let's reach out, everybody. If you like the music and you want to support a friend, even if you don't know him, one of our friends who we care for dearly and want to help give him some financial support and some spiritual support in there as well, I think. Would mean a lot to Jay. There's the information on the screen. Jeff, thanks so much for joining me here on the show today, and kudos to you for doing this great thing for our friend Jay.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Our friend Jeff Black joining here today, talking about Jay Dalkey and putting together this sound compilation with Jay. And I do remember Jay. He had an amazing voice. And he's a great soul as well. So great thing to support if you're able to as well. All right. Well, some more positive things happening in the community. There's a lot of heroes out there for sure, but we're going to talk about some of them. Derek Wilson is joining us here. Thanks for being here today, Derek.
No, good afternoon, David. Thank you for having me on your show.
No problem. Well, Joel, our mutual friend, reached out to me and shared this good news story. I like the good news, positive stuff stories, right? So you're a part of Badge of Life Canada, right?
Yeah, it's an organization which peer-driven, and we basically are helping first responders through post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah. Now, is this a new organization, or has it been around for a while? Give us a little bit of history on Badge of Life Canada.
It was originally around about 8 years ago. I can't remember the original founder, but right now it's run by Bill and Lynn Rusk out of Lions Head, Ontario. They're both police officers with PTS, and basically what we do is try to get the message out that asking for help is a sign of strength, or a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. And we use, so it's hard to get the message out, and especially corrections. And
well, it's I guess it's we talk about here we go again, mental health, right? It's a daily conversation somewhere in everybody's life that comes up, I think. We seem to be talking more and more about it, but there's still that stigma attached to it. Is there? Is that the difficulty in getting the message out? I don't want to tell anybody I feel this way because, I have an ego. I don't know, whatever that is. Is that part of it?
That's part of it. A lot of it is just a misunderstanding about what PTS and how to approach people that do have a post-traumatic stress injury.
Yeah.
People tend to, or your workmates tend to back off because there's a whole language around helping somebody, and if you don't have that language, it's hard for you to approach somebody, to
Right.
say the right things and that. So there is a certain amount of stigma that's left inside the corrections, but slowly we're taking it down brick by brick, and I've personally helped over 50 COs, federal and provincial, over the last 2 years to either reach out for therapy or just to let them know that this is a journey that we can get through. There doesn't have to be the end of your career.
Right, right. Now, are you? What's your background? Do you come from correctional facilities? Or?
Yep, I have a 33-year background. I started in 1988 at the Guelph Correctional Center, and I left or finished work in 2016 with the post-traumatic stress injury, and I've turned out to be the perfect example of what to do and what not to do. So
Okay.
that's how we talk about with like experienced peers. I can actually talk to somebody and let them know I've been through this. You're going to get better, but here's things that you can do and here's things that you shouldn't do.
Right.
So,
Now, this is sort of a new thing that this organization, I mean, you tell you about 8 years, but was there nothing like this around when you were, working, and then when you were having to deal with it as well? How did you get support?
I ended up going into the Homewood in Guelph for a 9-week residential program for PTSD. That was my initial treatment. At that time, there wasn't a lot of effort paid towards the PTS. It was more about the other things that come with it. And then I went to a 1-week program just outside of Perth, Ontario, with a group called Project Trauma Support. And it's the same thing that we do now with Badge of Life. We teach people how to change the question in their life and how not to be defeated by the PTS, and everything's small steps, but we're there right beside them when they're going through this journey. We don't leave anybody alone, and that's what we say. You're not alone.
That's probably, and that goes for a lot of organizations. Just that comfort, I guess, is really. It's not just about the talking or getting medical help, etc. It's just comfort knowing that this type of thing is available there, right?
Mm-hmm.
This and in this time right now with COVID-19, and I have you and I have both some mutual friends in the correction facilities, and I feel myself that the corrections officers, they don't get recognized as much as I think they should, and sort of get kind of in the background. We don't really think about them as much as, say, we would a police officer or a fireman, right? And I mean, you certainly don't sign up for this type of job to be praised, right?
Yeah.
So, how has COVID-19, I guess, added to the already existing stress for correctional officers?
One of our facilities, Ontario Correctional Institute, had some mistakes that were made during the COVID build-up, and they ended up with 32 staff members testing positive for COVID. So that institution has ended up being closed, and they moved the inmates to another facility. And it's kind of like everybody else that's out there that's being in contact with, if you're working at TLC or you're working in a senior citizens home or in the public, it's that fear of taking the COVID back to your family.
Absolutely.
Is the biggest thing. We work with, TB and hepatitis and all that on a daily basis. So it was a matter of us just getting the proper equipment and then a system of bringing the new inmates in. But you still have that because you're getting people straight off the street that have been arrested, and some of them don't lead a lifestyle that's as healthy as what others do. And that's just the name of the game, and it's self-protection when they come into the institutions. So you've got that added level. We still have the fentanyl crisis going on in correction. That hasn't gone
Right.
away. So it's just another layer of stress or worry more. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know some things were started here. I got a picture up here, Badge of Life Canada saying thank you. And you've got a lot of first responders, et cetera, signing these banners. Talk about these banners and where they're going.
Well, we originally started, it was my idea to start a banner just thanking corrections for working during the Cove. And unfortunately, we had that series of events from down east and HMS Fredericton. And I said to myself, well, there's a better way for us as correctional officers to belong to the first responder family. And that's to show the others that are putting their lives on the line that we appreciate their service. So we've now ended up with 5 banners. They're out at different correctional facilities. Sarnia was great. Joel was fantastic. He invited in other members of the first responder family in Sarnia. And that's one of the reasons I started in a smaller community. They have a better sense of team. They have a better sense of, belonging into community as opposed to the super jails where everybody comes from everywhere and there's no feeling of cohesiveness and bonding that you get in smaller facilities.
Yeah, well, you make a good point there. I mean, something like the size, even Sarnia, but if you were to look at like Petrolia and whatever, when something, well, if something tragic happens, for example, it affects a whole community. If something like that happens in a big city, like say Toronto, it affects a few blocks, right?
Yeah.
And that's so that you're starting there, but then you're going to. Is this to grow out to the bigger cities as well? Is that the idea?
Definitely, it'll be. We'll be sending 2 more banners are going out towards the eastern facilities, and there's been communications with me from or EMTs, ambulance, and dispatch that they want to get in on to sign it as well. Now, the idea is when the 5 banners are done, they'll go to the police officer or the Peace Officer Memorial March. We'll put them on the banner or on the stands, and then they'll be flown down east. They'll be put outside the Enfield detachment in Nova Scotia as a respect from the officer that passed away there. And then what we're doing is one banner is going to go to HMCS Fredericton. One banner is going to go to the family of the 2 correctional officers or correctional staff that were murdered in Nova Scotia. And one will be going to the young major that passed away during the snowbird. These are all signed banners, and we'll definitely want to put out more. If I can get up to 10 banners, I'll put 10 banners out there. But
so where did I think it's a great, just a simple but really neat and effective idea, right? Where are you getting the banners from? Is somebody donating them, or are you purchasing?
No.
How does that work?
Badge of Life Canada is purchasing the banners. Okay. And then I'm responsible for sending them out with my contacts in corrections to get them to the different facilities and get them signed up. And we are asking the facility when they get a banner to ask the local first responder to community to come to the facility to sign as well, where possible.
Sure, for sure. And I'm sure you get a great response from that community.
It's actually amazing me the response that we're getting. I think that when you have people like Joel that that get right in there and want to kick off these things and see that it is a sign of professionalism, like I can't thank him enough for the work that he's done in Sarnia.
Don't say too many nice things about him, eh? He's out there watching. He says, "Thank you for the kind words. I was happy to help with this campaign, and I'm proud of the hard work all our members do every day." Yeah, I've gotten to know Joel pretty well over the last little while.
Yeah.
His heart is definitely in the job and the respect for everybody involved there. And for those people that are seeing this being done, who are correctional officers, I'm sure are they showing you an appreciation for the efforts as well?
Oh, yeah. Like originally just got that badge of life to purchase one banner. And now we're up to 5, and we're probably going to get, I'm looking at about another 3 or 4 more.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I would love to see that correctional officer presence at the Peace Officer Memorial. We are part of the family, and it is our right to be there. And also it's our right, our job to respect the others that are in that family. And
For sure.
part of showing your respect is obvious to say thank you to those that have, paid the sacrifice.
Yeah, certainly big sacrifices going on there as well. A good point on that. Derek, and thank you so much for stopping by and sharing this important information. I'm glad that Joel reached out to me because I wouldn't have known otherwise probably. So it's important to get more of this out there. Have you reached out to other media outlets, news, radio, etc., to try to help spread the word?
Oh, we're kind of doing just a quiet build-up.
Okay.
If there is any media inquiries, it's kind of like we just want to do it.
Yeah.
If we don't want a lot of attention on it, it's just something that we feel that we should do. And if there's some media attention comes from it, that's great. I can always order more banners.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, then we were glad to be one of the medias to be able to bring it out to our viewers here. So,
appreciate it greatly.
Anything else you want to put out there before I let you get back to reality?
I'm in my Cove. Look, I got second Cove. I got my second Cove haircut today, so I had to wear that
yesterday.
No, if anybody that does have that has a stress injury, go to the Badge of Life Canada. There's listed therapists, trauma specialists, and there's always the merch. If you want to buy a T-shirt or a bracelet that helps us out, that'd be great.
Fantastic. Derek Wilson, thank you so much. And thanks for all your efforts as well. Keep up the great work in the community.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a good afternoon.
Wonderful. And thanks to our friend Joel Bissonette, who brought this story to my attention as well. I always like the positive, good stuff and appreciate him sharing that. So there you go. Once again, badgeoflifecanada.org if you want to find out more about the organization. Maybe we want to buy a banner and donate the banner and have that spread around. Maybe that's another idea for a story. Okay. Thanks again, Derek Wilson. All the best with the project. All right. Well, there's certainly been a lot of frustrations that have come out of COVID-19. Let's count the ways, right? We could I could just do a whole show, a new show separate from the show on COVID-19. But some community members have expressed some frustration but are handling things in a positive way. And you know me, I've always said I like to handle things with a positive reaction in a positive way, which is difficult to do sometimes, especially, you hear Derek talking about stress that comes along with it, but then there's the financial side of things that comes into effect as well. Josh Dowse is joining me here from Petrolia right now. He is a tattoo artist and owner at Black Room Tattoo in Petrolia. Thanks for being here, Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to this chat because I know, we talked on the phone a little bit earlier about, what kind of direction we were going to take this here. And I really liked your tone of voice, meaning like, there's a lot of directions this type of conversation could go, but you're really taking a positive approach here, right? So let's go back to your original frustrations as a tattoo parlor. You've had to close like many businesses. But then you were seeing like dentists were being allowed to open, but not tattoo parlors. Give us some background and explanation for where you're sitting with things 2 weeks ago and where you're sitting with it now.
Okay. Yeah. I don't want to stretch anything out too far or anything, but if anything, I'd like to go back to when this whole thing started in March.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure.
So my shop was forced to close by law on the 23rd of March.
Right.
I knew a week before that there was a pandemic. Well, that was the first week they started calling it a pandemic. I think they called it an epidemic before that.
Yeah, well, that's the process, right? Epidemic and then pandemic.
So turning into a pandemic, now this is a global virus that's covered the entire planet. I want to go back to a couple facts that we knew about COVID back in March. Okay. So my source is from time.com. It's a California magazine news thing. And the reporter is Kyle Harper from the University of Oklahoma. And he's writing a book on the new history of infectious disease right now. So these are the facts that come with COVID that we knew in March. We knew, you mentioned the face masks.
Yeah.
Now the face masks protect others and not you from COVID, right?
Right.
Because the reason behind that, and this is from what I've researched, I also should point out that the the difference between dentists and tattoo artists are we don't have a regulation. We have to go by the Hampton Public Health's guidelines because there's no board of tattoo artists in Lambton County, right?
And that's something you want to change, right?
So yeah, having said that, it's harder to take tattoo artists seriously when it comes to these things because there's so much stigma on it. And that's half the reason I got into tattooing and moving into a small town that people don't have tattoos, because there's a huge stigma on tattoos of health stuff, of if it's a career. I've dealt 10 years tattooing, people telling me that it's not a job. They think that I'm partying while I tattoo. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I think you bring up a good point there, Josh. Let's talk about that whole stigma thing for a while, because ask me how many tattoos I have. Okay, now it's just not something. When I was maybe 30 years ago, it might have been suggested, and I was like, okay, but I just didn't. It wasn't my personality to do that, right? I've been watching Ink Master. My wife Jennifer got hooked on that, and we watch it and went, wow, it's really interesting. Which is a really good show that is really trying to change that stigma. But I think if we go back so far into there's a toughness about it, and there's the
well, I'd kind of like to stop you if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
You're mentioning the show Ink Master.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these shows about tattoos, that's helped the industry immensely with clients. Yeah. Now I'm getting moms and daughters coming in for mother-daughter tattoos.
Right. Yeah.
So the margins and the subject matter of tattoos have changed because of the attitudes. Now, Ink Master is actually, I'm sure I'll get a ton of backlash from this, but Ink Master is actually making the stigma worse.
Oh, okay.
If you hear the terms they use in that show, canvas, and they only have a limited time to do stuff. This is the stuff that tattooing is not about. Tattooing is about taking your time, talking with your client, getting to learn their name so they're not a canvas.
Right.
Like
building a relationship.
There's a human aspect to this industry, and that's why you mentioned that I had a good tone to my voice. This is because I've learned how to talk to people in a certain way that I can listen, and then I don't have to solve their problems. They literally just want to talk about pain while they get pain.
Well, see, that's the part I never understood about it. Is I'm going to put myself through this. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against it or anything. I think it's a great art. It's just I never understood that.
Well, I'll give you. I
just don't do good with pain.
I'll give you another show to watch instead of Ink Master. If you go back and you watch the very first tattoo show that ever aired, it was called Miami Ink, and it was owned by two guys, Ami James and Chris Garver. Those two guys are literally the pioneers of projecting tattoos onto TV. They literally took criminal tattoo, bad stigma of tattoo, the badass part of it. And now you're watching online or watching on their show, like women and teens and stuff, getting stuff that helps them with their issues. They get a koi fish because they got out of an abusive relationship. They get a dragon because they had a body change. So these are what why Miami Ink was a show, was to get this. And now Ami James, how he deals with this pandemic is he has a website called Tattoo Do, which now he's hiring artists to have instruction videos, and now it's helping other tattoo artists to become better artists, right? So these guys are very progressive guys, and they're trying to end stigmas, and they're trying to make the industry evolve. Now, when you have people like Ink Master, you have Dave Navarro. He's always been in TV. He's always been in commercials. I guarantee you he's going to have another tattoo with McDonald's if they paid him $3 million to get it.
Right. I get that. There's an entertainment side to it for
So
sure.
where my frustration lies is a lot of people, I'm not saying that, obviously you don't have any tattoos, so it's hard to understand that stuff. And when people come to see me, they learn a lot more about it, so then they come back because they realize that it's more than blood shooting out of your body and potentially having COVID. I want to go back to the facts here. So the facts about COVID are: you wear a mask to protect others because it's a droplet pathogen disease. So you can get it from sneezing and from coughing and the droplets. Right. And that's why we have that 6 distant rule. Now, when it comes to gatherings, I have a huge problem with this 5 to 10 rule. This is ridiculous that people can gather in 10 right now, because the reason measles spread was because someone went to an island and they got close contact with them. As soon as they were close quarters on an island, almost 3/4 of that population got wiped out because it was so close. Now, when you're distant, when you're 6, you have a better risk. When you wear a mask, you have a better risk, right?
Right.
I
think I think what they're saying though, and I heard Christine Elliott, the medical officer of Ontario, or I forget her title, but the medical officer, she said, yeah, you can still be, they've upped it to 10, but she made it very clear, but those 10 must still social distance.
How are you? But how can you control 10 people? Can you think?
Well, how do you control 2 people? I mean,
actually, that's a good point, because I remember you mentioned Petrolia is a small community, right?
Yeah.
And when something gets hit, a lot of people get hit. So what I'm seeing in my own town is these independent businesses having 100% control over their business. They can tell the employees to stay away. They can go one by one into the shop. I'm seeing this in businesses that are opening already. Now, why I'm different, I have no idea. I'll tell you one fact that really doesn't sit well with me. A lot of the hand sanitizer that's getting recalled right now was under 70%. And my standard from Lambton Public Health is 70% hand sanitizer. If I go get dollar store hand sanitizer, I don't get to be open.
Wow, is that right?
So, it's things like this that people are kind of obscuring the importance of controlling this. I shared something today. New Zealand is totally free of coronavirus. They're totally free as of today. And that's because the prime minister made her she quarantined everybody. She made guidelines for how everybody needs to be, and everybody followed them. She even made fake news about how the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny are essential to make kids feel better. If I'm hearing that,
right,
why am I not essential? And I guess myself.
And understandably, because it's the business you're in that you obviously, and you're very passionate about it. I can tell, and that's a great place to be, especially for a young fellow like yourself. You're making a career. This isn't a job. This is a career, and believe me, I understand the difference. And it's not a perfect world. I think even the government there's still pieces they're trying to figure it out. I don't think they're trying to intentionally. I don't think they're picking on you don't think they're picking on the tattoo industry, do you?
I don't think that, because when I
happened to fall into that category. That was
when I was in front of public health for 6 hours in 30-degree weather because I heard that dentists were open and I wasn't allowed to. I stood out there and public health came out, because I'm really tight with public health. I'm very, very tight. I
would think you'd want a good relationship with public health.
And I've talked to them about making this template, but you mentioned earlier in your show that this trickles down. There's an apartment upstairs and there's a leaky pipe, and you can't tell the landlord because it's the person. There's all these hierarchies, right? Yeah. So people answer to other people. And me, as an independent entrepreneur, I don't answer to anybody other than the public health board, which answers to the government, right? So to say that I'm angry at the public health board would be very, very ignorant of me to blame somebody. Whereas what I'm saying is, in a time of importance where it seems like the economy needs to be restructured, I see this as Lambton County making changes to independent regulations for independent businesses rather than regulations to keep large commercial businesses in town. Like if you look at Wallaceburg, the entire downtown core was almost obliterated because they got a smart center. Right. So it's a constant fight between, am I going to go spend $30 on Josh's hand sanitizer because he loves the community, or am I going to go spend $6 on hand sanitizer at Walmart where they just want my money to put gas in their yacht?
Right. Well, there's another show. I hear you. So, well, let's we got to wrap up here in just a couple of minutes, but so your relationship with Lambton Public Health, would you say it's a good one? Is it a positive one?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. And that's a relationship that's growing then. So
you
mentioned in your sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
The reason is because there's lack. That I all due respect to my health representative, but she comes to me she has questions for me. I don't have them for her. She has them for me because she doesn't have any guidelines for tattoo artists. And that's why you see so many shops, because you can literally buy a machine and then open a shop. You can actually
that's kind of well, I mean, I don't get tattoos, so I guess I go, well, that doesn't really affect me, but I guess indirectly it could affect me.
It affects me.
Yeah, sure it would, right? And the tattoo community is a large community. I mean, it was a couple years ago here, I think they had a tattoo
convention.
Like a convention, I
guess.
That
was our first one. You're right, there is a large community, but we're not together. I can almost guarantee you half the shops hate each other rather than work together. And I'm not.
And you want to change that, right?
I'm from Toronto. I'm from where eight shop. I'm from Petrolia, but I tattooed in Toronto, and I'm from where 8 shops have to work together because everybody's got to pay $1,400 rent at the end of the month.
Right.
So if you're not making money here, you go over here. If you're not doing this person's helping you out over here, and there's not that here. People literally open up a shop with, I shouldn't trail on that because I don't want to talk smack about anything. What I'm saying is there's no regulations. Therefore, there's no guidelines for how we operate. And that's why we're still closed, because nobody knows how to regulate this stuff. So it would be nice to see, Doug Ford give some leeway for regional health units to work with the community to make these templates that we can make guidelines for. Like I love Sarnia. I would never want to infect Sarnia with COVID or tattoo stuff. I would never want to do that. My whole career is based off not infecting people. So so to smush me is to literally hurt our human rights in our communities, because now people with mental health problems can't come to me. Gotcha. Like there's a lot of underlying stuff that crumbles because of the infrastructure, right? And
art in itself, I think, to support what you're saying, Josh, is any form of art is typically underappreciated when it comes down to having to prioritize things that should exist in a community, right? If we have to make government cutbacks, we cut back the museums and the whatever first because we don't find them as important. So it sounds like you're going to take the lead on this, and it sounds like we should have you back maybe in another month or so to follow up. Are you looking to take a lead on this to create some kind of regulatory body that can?
I mean, if I had a genie lamp right now, or if I could change careers, let's do that. If I could change careers right now, I would definitely get into health and safety. I would definitely be applying for that board, because I started my shop so I could get the gears running and then work on other ambitions I had in life. So for me to see that I can't even open because of some infrastructure, that to me, that sounds like I need to change careers and focus on a bigger problem.
Maybe there's an organization that you create and get others on board. And
I think that's the smartest way to handle this, because I don't think COVID's going away. I think we're going to get a second wave because of these group gatherings. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying that's how it starts. That's how it begins.
There's a lot of people that wouldn't disagree with you on that.
Right.
For sure.
So, and a lot of people think that I'm like, oh, it's fake. Like, it's not fake. It's just, you have to realize that people are taking this like, oh, I don't see it and I don't see people dying. Well, I can go to Walmart, and like we're losing grip on our community because of all these other events that are going on in the planet, like protests and stuff. Right. It's tough to speak, and it's tough to get change done when you're quarantined.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure.
It's a pickle. We're all in a pickle. I know I'm not the only one.
There's a term I haven't heard in a while. That's right. That's a baseball term. He's in a pickle. Well, Josh, thank you so much for sharing this with me. And honestly, I got some insight that I wasn't aware of from you as well. So I appreciate that. And please stay in touch. Stay in touch and keep trickling information on me. And let's do a follow up down the road and see if we can help you get some more attention to this. And hopefully, you're open again soon and can become a part of stage 2 here in Ontario.
I don't know what to say.
I hear it. Well, there's no crystal ball, right? Yeah. Josh, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great week.
Okay, bye.
A joy to have Josh Dallas joining me here. I had it was a good conversation on the phone, and we talked a lot about where we wanted this to go, because everybody knows I like to keep things positive, and there's some touchy things set in there, but Josh has the right tone of voice and he's got the right philosophies, I think, to make some positive changes, and he makes some very good points. One thing I like about a person when they make a point, well, they should this, they don't just say they should this, they say, I think this would be something, and here's how it could be done. Offer some solutions in there. Josh sounds like an intelligent young fella, and I hope things turn in the direction that he wants to see it. I think we're going to see more from Josh Dow's making some positive effects in the tattoo world. Like I say, I don't have any tattoos. I had a girlfriend when I was like 20 years old. She wanted me to get a tattoo, and I ended up getting my ear pierced instead, because it's just not me. But I watch, I've watched the Ink Master and stuff, so I just go, wow, there's no way I could do that stuff. So I appreciate the talent involved in that as well. Josh, thanks again for being here. Thanks to all my guests for being here. Jeff Black, who's put together a nice sound compilation for our friend Jay Dalkey. Jay, I know you were watching. I hope you're doing well, buddy. And hang in there, okay? And also to Derek Wilson from Badge of Life Canada. Thanks to him for sharing his information, and my friend Joel Bissonette, who put me in touch with Derek. And then, of course, once again, Josh Dow's a tattoo artist in Petrolia with some frustration, but looking to push through. And reach out to him on Facebook, I think he'd be happy to have that positive conversation with you as well. Listen, I do a lot of things, as you know, but I really appreciate you following me on my Facebook. We're live in different parts of Canada, United States, and England. We get all over the world with this show. And I appreciate you just following me here on the Facebook page at the show Sarnia. Also on my YouTube channel. Take a moment to subscribe there. Every Wednesday night, I produce a live bingo game for our friends at Ron Clark Motors in Wyoming, who are supporting Lambton Elderly Outreach. It's a free bingo game. If you want to find out more about that, send me a message as well. Thanks again, everybody. That is all the time I got for you this week. Have a great week and an even better weekend. I'll see you next time right here on the show. Bye for now.